So this is all where it starts. For the most part, all of our speakers come in with an aluminum extrusion. And we started off with the bandsaw. We would cut the pieces with the bandsaw. We have against the back wall, we've got a bunch of drill fixtures. We clamp a drill fixture on top of the extrusion. We use our line drills over on the far side, and we drill each individual hole. We've made equipment upgrades since then. We have what we call an upcut saw, which is what we're using behind us. That has a digital gauge on it as well. So when we want to go to a certain length, we just type the length into the stop, and it automatically moves to there, plus or minus 5 thousandths. It's got pneumatic clamps that hold the part in place. Push the button, the saw blade comes up and cuts it. It's about a 5-second cut. Once it's cut, we can then move it over onto our multicam CNC machine over here. We clamp it into the fixture. We are just getting this thing up and running right now. And we clamp it into the fixture. This is actually the very first piece we're making. This machine now will go, it'll drill, it'll tap, it'll countersink, it'll deburr, it'll take care of everything, changing its own tools, and the part is done. So it's a faster process, it's a more repeatable process, and it's a much cleaner process. So I'm very excited to have this thing. All of our Sage is assembled to order. And by assembled to order, what I mean is we have all the sub-assemblies stocked. I don't know if you're going to order a P20, if it's going to be a P20, a C20, an M, an I, a freestanding. So I have all the sub-assemblies for whichever one you want. You place the PO, I can then take the components and put the components together for the finished product. Some of our other products, Insight, we build the stock. We do production runs of them, 20 or 40 at a time. Wisdom series is what we call engineer to order. There's so many different options of the Wisdom series that we really don't lift a finger until you tell me exactly what you want. What's the configuration? Do you want it powder coated? Do you want it painted? Do you want it anodized? Once we have the details sorted out, then we can pull the trigger and start actually making the parts that go into the product. Subwoofers, again, are also assembled to stock.
We can do custom size easily, right? Because it's going to have to cut it for your L75. But if you want to match a design element, a window, or go floor to ceiling, whatever it is, even though the product's going to be the same, but you want that whatever extra length to match something else, that's why it's easy for us to make a custom. Yeah.
And because I'm a manufacturing guy, nothing gets done out on the shop floor without a work order. The sub-assemblies get done with the work order. I basically release the shop order out to the floor. And then the guys out here run with it. They'll take it, they'll cut the pieces. Once it's done, it'll go to the next step in the process, whether it's powder coating or onto the shelf. And they just pretty much take care of it all themselves. Anything gets scrapped, they mark it on here, so it counts it out of inventory as well. We've been using 3 or 4 different powder coaters within the area. Logistically, it was a little difficult. And we even bought a van so we could drive parts back and forth. And, sometimes the lead time was a day, sometimes the lead time was 2 weeks, and we just don't know because we don't know how busy our powder coater is going to be. We hired a powder coater from one of those powder coating companies. He's got about 30 years of powder coating experience, and about 25 years of that powder coating experience was painting Wisdom Audio parts. So he's very familiar with our product already. And we've only had this up and running now for a couple weeks, and it's already generated huge, huge gains for us. So between the powder coating and between the CNC router table, the sky's pretty much the limit now. Sage has to be powder coated. Can't wet paint it just because of the tolerances and the way it's built. You can pick any color you want for powder coating. The only thing I would caution is nothing more than a 20% gloss. Powder coating, when it gets glossy, it looks like it's orange peeled. And the one drawback of powder coating is once it's shot and once it's baked on, you're done. You can't polish it, you can't smooth it out, you can't sand it. That's it. You get what you get. An example of the 20% gloss is the white product that's in the front, the white L75 that's in the front lobby. And then they go into the next area where we're going to head right now, and then they're stocked on the shelf waiting for your purchase orders. This is an example of how the Sage goes together. There's dampening in there. There's adhesive that holds the ends on, and then there's mechanical fastenings as well. Also, any of the mechanical fastenings have an adhesive on there to keep it from vibrating loose. So there's a lot of parts and a lot of pieces that go into one of these things. This is a in-wall example. This one does not have the dampening in it yet, but this is our dampening material that we use. This is a recycled denim. It is a fire retardant, and we actually make these in-house. We call them our square donuts. And you load your speaker in here, and it all does fit, but it all goes in, and if you look on the back, there's some holes. So you actually screw into the back of the driver as well, so this whole thing becomes one integral part. These are some of the things we call our jewelry. That's a terminal cup for an L75. And that's one of the things that I like to say, makes wisdom a wisdom product. That could easily be made out of a aluminum or a plastic piece. Injection molded plastic piece, we probably save $70 on that part. But it's not a Wisdom Audio L75 anymore. It's plastic parts on it. So, this is the end cap. The end cap actually starts as an extrusion. This is what the extrusion looks like. And the cap is then machined out of a piece of extrusion. Lots of extrusions at Wisdom Audio, and extrusions are fantastic. You have to pay for that die, and the die is expensive. But after that, you're only paying for the price of aluminum, whatever the market price is right now. For a piece like this, if we have the extrusion, we're going to pay for the die, but now we're paying for less metal, and we're paying for less machining time to get it down to its final profile. Come on down. These are all STS subwoofers. We purchased the cabinet locally from a cabinet maker. He actually builds the STS enclosure for us, and he builds the crate. So he sends us the actual enclosure inside the crate. We bring it here. We actually take it out of the crate. We put it on our rotisserie. Once it's on the rotisserie, we can populate it with the woofers. We can test it, make sure it's airtight, make sure its frequency response is correct, and then we can put it right back into the same crate that it arrived in. We've set this thing up with special lifts so we can lift it up with the forklift, so one person can build a 250-pound subwoofer by themselves in about 45 minutes. So this is our amplifier assembly area. Again, when I started here, we had 3 amplifiers. We had an SA1, which was a subwoofer amplifier, an SA2, and an SA3. We've since discontinued the SA1, but we are now up to 10 unique amplifiers that we assemble here. Again, the amplifiers are all 100% made in the U.S. The chassis are made locally for us. The covers are made locally for us. The PCBs are made, there's one outfit up in Reno that makes some of the parts, and then there's another place on the East Coast that makes some of the other components, but all the PCBs are made in the U.S. as well. Everything comes here tested. What we do is we do a final assembly and we do a system test. Every one of the amplifiers burns in for a minimum of 24 hours. It gets a test to make sure its frequency response, its distortion, and its phase are all within spec.
Thanks so much, Eric. Appreciate it. Hope everyone had a good tour. We're just going to go right back to these doors here.